was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. All that you've done for me.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Well, welcome back to Florida, Jamie, Lorraine, and Morgan. We tried to order up some cool weather for you, but it's on back order. Due to the COVID, they're shipping warm weather all over the place, or some cold weather all over the place. Man, it's been a little bit warm. Been just a little bit warm. Yeah. Oh, we had some rain. How you doing?
We got 7 inches of rain at our house while we were gone.
Really?
My
Whoa.
rain gauge had 7 inches.
Good grief. Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. Spread the word. We're back in service. We're back in church. And good to see you. Hope y'all, who had a really, really good day? You had a good day? Robin, what was good about your day? There you go. That has not been happening. All right. That is good. That is good. All right. You had a birthday pool party. Whose birthday? Well, good. Very good. Well, happy birthday to whoever that was. And, okay. Oh, we're glad to see everybody. Appreciate your presence tonight. We're starting Sunday school in the adults Sunday morning, 10 o'clock right here. And we got and you're back in session as well. Okay. So 10 o'clock in class, not on Facebook. Now, are you still going to do that?
If I can get my tripod fixed, it broke.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. So slowly we're getting back to where we were, and what we're doing on Wednesday nights, we're going through the day of the week proverb, and so today's the 17th, and so we're going to do chapter 17 tonight. Next week will be 24, and we'll hit 24 next week, and then we're going through still the book of Isaiah. We'll be in chapter 46, I believe it is, on Sunday night. And going to be some interesting historical information on Sunday night about false worship, where it came from, how it got started, and it's still going on today. So we need to remember, continue to pray for Steve Parsons. And there's some other folks that we mentioned that that slipped my mind, actually. Olivia, yes. Olivia Minshew is in need of our prayers. Put it that way. Okay. And Toby Cribbs also, evidently. Yeah, that's what Jamie was saying. Got some physical problems. Anybody else? Anything going on locally? Yes, ma'am? Okay. Okay. Well, very good. Yes, sir.
Yesterday we got the update on coronavirus from the round table. That's about as official as it gets. We're a few cases above Highlands County. Still on DeSoto. And then yesterday after dinner we had our first death.
Right. Okay. How old was she? Okay.
But they said one of our nursing homes. They didn't say which one.
Okay. Well, from what we're keeping up with this almost on a daily basis, and it's a pretty good percentage of the deaths are assisted living facilities, nursing homes. In other words, people that are elderly and sick, just like the flu every year. You know, that's the population. Hello, guys. The population that this really hits hard every year, and so anyway, let's pray for folks that have it and folks that are still struggling with this stuff. And yes, ma'am. Oh my goodness. What a horrible time to have to be in a nursing home, you know? I mean, people can't come see you. It's really bad. So, all right, well, let's pray, and then we're going to jump into chapter 17. And everybody have a handout, by the way? You got your handout? Okay. Are we up on the screen yet? Okay, we've got a technical issue here. Can't get the screen to wake up. So apparently it's safer at home than it is opening up. So, all right. Well, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we bow tonight simply to worship you. We praise you. We honor you. There's no one around the throne that is competing for your position or your power or your authority. We praise you for being the only God that has ever existed in the history of everything. What an honor it is to be your child. What an honor it is to be able to come into the presence of the great God of the universe and pour our hearts out, pour our tears out, our needs. And I ask you tonight to bless those for whom prayer has been mentioned. People have serious physical needs. And I pray that you would speak health to them if that be your will, and we're praying it is. I pray that you would bless our country with a spirit of revival. We don't need more government. We need to introduce you back into our culture and into our civilization. Forgive us for showing you the door. And we, as Riverview Highest Baptist Church, we invite you to come back. We want you involved in the daily activities of our nation. Bless us and heal us in Jesus' name. Amen. Chapter 17 is kind of like Walmart. Got a little bit of everything in it. You can go to Walmart and get a watermelon or a nail gun. You know, it's just one of those places like that. No particular subject has a monopoly in chapter 17. The Chinese have a saying, "He who is content can never be ruined." You know why people are always inflamed about stuff? They're not happy. They're always complaining, always griping, always blowing up. Nothing's ever good enough. Nothing, you know, it's too hot, it's too cold. It's too this, it's too that. And they're not happy in life, and because they're not content. And you know, and I know as well, that money can't bring that. Family can't bring that. Recreation can't bring that. As much as we enjoy those things, only God can bring contentment to the human heart. He's the only one that can do that. And so peace is the deliberate adjustment of my life to the will of God. When I am out of adjustment, it's just like your spine. Anybody in here ever had sciatic problems? Okay, you know how difficult that is to deal with. That is a painful deal. And so when your spine is out of line, it pinches a nerve. And that will just absolutely drive you crazy until you get that nerve squared away. And so I'm finding fewer and fewer people that find contentment in life. We're always wanting more. We've got to be bigger, got to be faster, got to be better. Look at your phones. You got your iPhone 10, and oh, you still have a 10? Well, haven't you seen the new 12s? Well, no. Hey, you got to get. Oh man, the camera is just out, on and on and on. And so we had 3G and then 4G, and now we got 5 of them. And so that's just the direction of mankind is always expanding. So look at verse number 1 now. And what we're going to do, we're going to walk through these verses. I'll read the verse and then give you a sentence to fill out on your paper, right? Verse number 1. Better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than a house full of sacrifices with strife. Verse number 1 teaches that what you respect and what you honor, you will attract. It's called the law of attraction. And consciousness is an attraction-based force. What you think about, what dominates your mind is attracted to you. I don't really understand how that works. It's kind of like a bug to a light bulb. I do know that. If you are constantly negative, guess who's going to find you appealing? Negative people. You're constantly griping. Guess who's going to find a safe haven in that? People that are constantly griping. And so you attract your most dominant thought. And do you respect quiet and peace and harmony and joy? Do you respect those things? Are those things passions of yours? Do you think about how those things can be maintained? Or what about the person that's always thinking about how can I create problems for Betty Eason? How can I tear something up that belongs to somebody? How can I steal? I gotta get in there somehow. I gotta steal their 401k or their lawnmower or burn their business down or whatever. What you have is what you have invited. Now that's a hard pill to swallow, I'm aware, but people create the atmosphere of their lives. Thoughts, when given attention, reproduce kindred thoughts. And what that means is this. The nature of your thought life attracts the thought life that you're thinking. It attracts those realities. And so the fuel for thought is just simply attention. Now what does that mean? It means if this is what I'm thinking about all day long, the music I listen to feeds that thought. The things I watch on TV fuel that thought. What I get on and look at on the internet fuels that thought. And so all it does, it becomes stronger and stronger, and the thing that becomes the dominant thought of your life is the thing you're going to find fulfilled in your life. And so what you respect and what you honor, you will attract. Look at verse number 2. A wise servant shall have rule over a son that causeth shame, and shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren. Uh-oh. Now there's a skunky thing, isn't it? At least to the son. Verse number 2 teaches that wisdom creates wealth. Wisdom creates wealth. The servant has no legal right to the inheritance, correct? He's an employee. He's not family. He is not in the will. However, his discretion and his wisdom have made room for him in his master's will. All right, let's read it again. A wise servant shall have rule, shall have dominion, shall take the place of the son that causes shame. And this guy will even have part of the inheritance. And so someone said that a servant is known by his master's absence. What you do when the boss is not around tells you what kind of employee you are. If it takes the presence of your boss to get you to do the right thing, you're probably going to steal, or that person is going to do something that's going to create problems in that business. And so do the right thing when the boss is there. When you see him get in his truck and drive off, do the right thing at that time also. So wisdom creates wealth. I hear a lot of people, griping and complaining about the wealthy in the country and how these people have stolen it from other groups and other people. Did you know that 20% of the millionaires in America inherited their wealth? 20%. You know what that means? 80% of them got out and worked for it. Exactly. They didn't steal it from anybody. They worked for it. And I am all for you making as much money legitimately and honorably as you possibly can. And if your neighbor is a lazy bum and doesn't want to do anything, oh well. You know what I'm saying? If God has blessed you with that drive and with that passion, did you know that the top 1% of American wage earners, 1%, pay 40% of the total tax revenue? You probably know a whole lot more. Y'all come see Robin. Come see Robin. That's what we need to do here. Yes, sir.
I was reading an article today, San Francisco is imposing a tax on corporations whose executives have more than 101 compensation packages from the lowest wage earner. And Oregon did this recently, and the top corporation, the CEO was paying 3,066 to 1. But I don't agree with that. But.
Right. Well, let me tell you, people say, well, money doesn't control me. Let me read you something. There was a book that was written by James Patterson back a number of years ago called The Day America Told the Truth. Y'all ever heard of that book? Patterson reported a survey that had asked adults what they would be willing to do for $10 million. Okay? I want to give you the percentages and the answers of American adults. I would do that for $10 million. 25% of those polled said they would abandon their entire family for $10 million. 23% said they would become a prostitute for 1 week for $10 million. 16% said they would leave their spouse for $10 million. And 3% said they would put their kids up for adoption for $10 million. Yeah. People do some crazy things for money. But let me just encourage you with this, that wisdom creates wealth. All right, look at verse number 3. Verse number 3. The fining pot is for silver. So we're talking about, and the furnace for gold. So we're talking about precious metals here. But the Lord trieth the hearts. That's a precious mine. So we've got precious metals and precious mine. Verse number 3 teaches that God's purpose in trials is to purify. Gold and silver are purified by heat. And in these days, they would put gold flakes or gold nuggets in a bowl, and they would heat it. And it would melt that gold into metal. And the impurities in that gold would float to the top. And they knew the gold was pure, or the silver was pure, when they could see their unimpaired reflection down in that pot of gold or silver, and they would scoop off or strain off the impurities. But how were the impurities dealt with? Had to turn up the heat. Exactly. So what's the purpose? Are you trying to hurt the gold? Are you trying to burn the gold? Are you trying to destroy the gold? No, you're trying to purify the gold. All right, now, if that be true in the precious metal industry, why does God, on occasion, turn the heat up in our pot? What's he trying to do? Well, he's trying to destroy me. If God was a God of love, if God done, no, God's trying to purify us. And that is what burns the impurities out of people. Yes, sir.
Sometimes he just turns the stove off, turns the heat
Exactly. And which brings me to this thought. Once the impurity is located, what are you supposed to do with it? You don't say, oh, look at there. How about that? You get it out. Exactly. You confess that. You're right, Lord. This is not what's supposed to be in my life. All right, look at verse number 4. A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar ear to a naughty tongue. Verse number 4 teaches liars welcome gossip. J.C. Macaulay said that a lie is the refuge of weakness. If a person does not stop another person from gossiping to them, they're just putting out a welcome mat. And guess where they're going to come back to? They'll be right back to you. And so the Bible says that a wise man will give a stern face to a gossip, and it will drive the gossip away like a strong wind blows away rain. I mean, they'll be, they come use some trash. Give them a dirty look. Oh, well, and they'll understand that that's not welcome here. And so there's the Spanish have a saying that whoever gossips to you will gossip about you. Okay? And it's also true that whoever cheats with you will cheat on you. And so these are some hard lessons that people need to learn. And so Scripture says this, that liars are always on the hunt for something to lie about. And gossip is just good fodder to lie about. They love to hear something, and they have this welcoming ear. And I'm telling you, if you put up with that, they'll be back with more. Because they have found a vendor for their trash, and they will dump that on you until you say, no, I don't want to hear that anymore. And so if you do that once, normally that will take care of the situation. And so liars welcome gossip. A little boy asked his mama one time, Mom, what's a lie? And Mom said, well, son, a lie is an abomination to the Lord, but a very present help in time of need. That's not what you need to do. All right, look at verse number 5. Whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker, and he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished. Verse number 5. Arrogance mocks the hurts of others. Seneca said, all cruelty springs from weakness. It is the insecure person, it is the arrogant person, it is the weak person who finds pleasure in hurting other people. They're not strong. That's a weakness in them. And arrogant people are basically selfish people. Well, let's say you get a raise or you get a promotion or your kid gets some kind of an award. There are some people that are jealous about that, and they're going to be angry about that because they think that should have happened to them. And so, I've learned through the years that protégés want what you have learned. Parasites want what you have earned. And there are people that want what you've earned. You realize you've stolen it from them, right? Right? And what you have should have come to them in the first place. And so that's a parasite on a culture or on an individual. And so arrogance mocks the hurts of others. Look at verse number 6. Good. That's good.
And they say arrogance is the only disease that only the person that's infected.
Makes everybody sick, but the person that has it. Yeah, exactly right. All right, verse number 6. Children's children. So who is that? These grandkids. Are the crown of old men. That's grandpa. And the glory of children are their fathers. All right, verse number 6 teaches this. Generational wisdom honors the entire family. Generational wisdom honors the entire family. Now here's a grandfather who's grateful to see his grandkids walking in godliness. That's a thrill. As a matter of fact, did you know You will not know what kind of a parent you've been until you're a grandparent. What your kids teach their kids that they learn from you tells you what kind of a parent you are. So you got a long, if you've got young kids, you got a long time to wait to find out what kind of parent you are. Yes, ma'am. If you've got a 10-year-old, say, well, they make their bed up all the time. That's because you tell them to. They wouldn't be able to watch TV if they didn't do it. And so now what will that 10-year-old grow up to teach his child? If they do, then you've done a really good job. And so generational wisdom will honor the entire family. There's a Mexican legend about a man that didn't want to be bothered with his father was very, very old and feeble. And so he asked his son, said, would you take Grandpa up into the mountain cabin and give him some food and a blanket and leave him there? And so the grandson took the grandfather up to the cabin, and the boy came home with half a blanket. And the daddy said, son, what's this half a blanket for? He says, oh, that's for you, Dad. So what parents do to children, children do to society. Okay? Now you look at this bunch that's tearing the country up. All right? They were not raised in an environment where people were respected and honored. And so, verse number 7. Let's run on verse number 7. Excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less lying lips a prince. Verse number 7. Your words are the vehicle to your future. We don't expect uplifting, encouraging, wise words from a fool. I don't expect that. There's some politicians, when I see them interviewed on TV, I'm like, oh my word. What ignorance is going to come vomiting out now. You don't expect wisdom from certain people. And, a fool is always trying to maneuver himself into a better position. And if he has to lie to do it, so be it. If he has to bribe somebody to do it, so be it. He's got no problem with doing that. And so people in positions of honor and authority are not expected to lie. It should be a shock when a leader misleads. But do you expect it these days? It's almost apparently required to be elected to office. It's a shame. But I am not shocked when I find out that a leader has misled or lied or been dishonest about anything. It shouldn't be that way, but your words are the vehicle to your future. So I think it is absolutely vital that we as Christians use language to lift people up. We've got about 1 million plus English vocabulary words, and most of them are perfectly good words. There's some flyers in there and some culls in there that you ought not ever use, but most of them are good words. And so you can be like a cook, a chef. You're a verbal chef, putting together sentences and paragraphs and statements and encouragement and blessing. Serve that to people every time you're in the presence of somebody. Encourage them, build them up. Now, on occasion, do you have to confront people with wrong and with sin? Yes, you can even do that in the right way. We don't have to be arrogant and brutal when we confront people with the wrong that they've done. And so your words are the vehicle to your future. Look at verse number 8. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Whithersoever it turneth, it prospereth. Now that sounds real Christmassy until we understand that the word gift means bribe. So, verse number 8, bribery is temporary prosperity. Let's read that again with that word in place. A bribe is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Do you think, let's say here's a guy, and he's been bribed to give a contract to a particular company, $100,000. Is that like a precious stone in his eyes? Oh, wow, that's $100,000 for doing nothing. All I did was give him the contract. All right, and so this is, according to verse number 8 now, it's like a precious stone, and wherever it turns, wherever a bribe is used, does it normally work? Normally it does, yes. Oh my goodness. It may be a really bad idea, and most of the time it is, that follows a bribe. But bribes are temporary prosperity. And if you want the bad to come out in somebody, bring the money out. You know as well as I do that there are people in this country that would kill you for $100. Shoot you dead in the street or in your bed. They blow your car up for $100. Look, well, what was the percentage of folks that said, I would be a prostitute for a week for $10 million? I mean, people they lose their sense of boundaries and values when it comes to money and things like that. And so bribery is temporary prosperity. Look at verse number 9. He that covereth a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. Verse number 9, love will not expose the wounds given it. If it was an oversight, overlook it. If it was done through forgetfulness, forget it. Don't live life with your powder so dry that any little spark will blow you up. My goodness. Social media. Public media is a public toilet. I've read stuff that I'm like, really? You're saying that publicly? You're saying that out where people can read this, about your wife or your husband or your kids? And mature love can overlook offenses. You don't have to get a pound of flesh every time somebody offends you. You just don't have to do that. And so mature love will overlook those things, and it will not expose the wounds given it. Look at verse number 10. A reproof entereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. Verse number 10, the intensity of discipline is determined by the wisdom of the offender. Frank was telling me one time he arrested a guy, had him down on the pavement, and the guy had been kind of bad with him, and he put his foot right up pretty close, to him, and Frank just said, "You're in charge of how much pain you get tonight. You're in charge of it." And a wise man is turned with a simple word. A fool got to be beaten to arrive at the same place. How much pressure does it take to get you to do the right thing? What kind of approach does it take? The threat of being fired? People are, if they're that stubborn, then one day the metal is going to break. And so it just takes a little bit of correction to correct a wise man. But it takes an awful lot to get a fool to the same place. I love what the Japanese say. If he will not listen, let time be his teacher. We've got some parents in here. Did you ever have to tell your children more than one time not to do a particular thing? They just kept doing it, they kept doing it, they kept doing it, they kept doing it. And you knew what was going to happen one day, right? You knew it. In many instances, what's the cure for pride and arrogance and stupidity like that? Let them do it. Let them do it. There's going to be one last time, and it's going to blow up. The mousetrap's going to spring on them, and that probably is going to cure the issue. You don't want it to go that far, but the intensity of discipline is determined by the wisdom of the offender. Look at verse number 11. An evil man speaketh only rebellion. Therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Verse number 11, the fool is animated by a spirit of rebellion. Pretty obvious to me. Some people are against everything. I heard about a guy I was talking to a preacher one time. He said, "Preacher, are you against?" "Yep." I am. I'm against it. They're animated by a spirit of agitation. It doesn't matter what you do, it's not right. They're going to be agitated by that. And they don't listen to the rules or the laws of society. They will run past the boundaries of morality. They will run past the boundaries of private property, which, by the way, communism and socialism despises private property. This is one of the things that's being attacked right now in this country is the dissolution of private property. If that can be destroyed, folks, I'm telling you, the concept of freedom is gone. And so, do we have the authority and the God-given privilege to defend not only our lives, but our property? Yes, absolutely you do. Exactly, yeah. And so, rioters and people that don't respect property bounds and private property, they're the ones that have water hoses and policemen and tear gas used against them because that's what it takes. It's not, excuse me, that's mine. Oh, sorry, sir. That won't stop them, but tear gas might. And so, again, the intensity of discipline is determined by the wisdom of the offender, but the fool is animated by a spirit of rebellion. Look at verse number 12. Let a bear robbed of her whelps or her cubs meet a man. It'd be better for you if you met a mama bear and you were messing with her cubs rather than a fool in his folly. Verse number 12 teaches it's dangerous to catch a fool being himself. A mother bear is a really, really good parent. Real good parent. She will defend her cubs to the death. When me and a couple of buddies went hunting in Canada a few years ago, we went on a bear hunt. And the first night we got there, the guide we had this meeting in the cook tent. He was explaining, I'd never bear hunted before. I didn't know a lot of this stuff. And he was explaining about the size of the ears. If they have little ears, it's probably a big bear. And it's because they're fat. Their ears are the same size as a skinny bear, but they're just not enough fat. Anyway, he was explaining if they got a big sway belly. He said, that's a good bear. He was explaining all this stuff. And then he said, now, if you're walking in the woods to your stand and you see a cub, you stop immediately. Do not even attempt to approach that cub. And it's not because that cub will hurt you. Cub may just roll over on his back, but he said, you can bet your bottom dollar somewhere in the woods, within about a 2-second charge, there's a mama bear that will just tear your throat out. And so you stay away from that. And so it's dangerous to catch a fool being himself. The first person that confronts a fool is going to get problems. And are you seeing this right now, nationally? You just don't confront people with truth. You don't confront people with their ignorance. You don't confront people with their criminality. You're just not supposed to do that. You just don't do that. And so this is teaching that it's really dangerous to catch a fool being himself, posting fake stuff and reporting fake stuff and all this kind of thing. And so you just don't mess with the stupidity of a fool because eventually you're going to pay a price for that. All right, look at verse 13. Whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. Verse number 13 teaches you reap what you sow. This sin is so heinous that it not only affects your person, but it affects your posterity. One does not render evil for the good done to him. Don't do that. You're planning disaster not only in your life, but in your family. To return evil for evil, that's just brutish. You hit me, I hit you. But to return evil for good is devilish. So, you reap what you sow. And we've talked about this for a long time here. The elements of the law of the harvest are simply this. You reap what you sow. You lie, you're going to be lied about. You're going to be lied to. It's as simple as that. You hurt somebody, you're going to be hurt. And so you reap what you sow. Number two, you reap more than you sow. You can plant one tomato plant, and you're going to get 6, 8, 10 tomatoes off that vine. How many seeds in each one of those tomatoes? A bunch. So you understand that you will reap more than you sow, but you'll reap later than you sow. You can plant your seed today. You're not going to eat fruit off of that seed tomorrow. It's going to take a while. And so, you remember Ahab in the Old Testament? Ahab was the old vile toad that squatted on the throne of Israel. He was a wicked man, and he killed a man for his vineyard. Grapevines, folks. He murdered a man for grapevines. And the prophet came to him and told him, said, one day the dogs are going to lick your blood in the same place. I can imagine every morning when Ahab heard a dog bark, he jumped across the breakfast table. Is it, oh my word, is it today? Is it today? You know, could you imagine living under that kind of pressure? You know how long it took? 20 years. 20 years later, that's exactly what happened. And so you reap what you sow. You reap more than you sow, but you reap later than you sow. So what you want planted in your life, you've got to plant that in somebody else's life. If you don't want people to steal from you, don't steal from them. You don't want people to lie about you, don't lie about them. It's going to happen, all right? You're doing your own self severe disservice. All right, look at verse number 14. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. So you got a bucket of water, and you get ready to mop the living room floor. And you trip over the rug, and you spill that bucket of water all over the place. Can you get it all back up and put it in the bucket? See, that water's going to go places you never intended for it to go. So, verse number 14, your first words of anger will not be the last. In other words, one angry word, one immature response, one thoughtless statement is going to chemically bond with another immature word, with another coarse, rude statement, and it's going to form a chain reaction. So if you blow up, and there are people that just have a tendency, this is their default response to everything. And then they come back and have to clean the mess up. Well, you can't clean it all up. You're not going to get all the water back in the bucket, okay? So the best thing to do is watch where you're walking and watch what you're saying before you ever say it, because anger, well, let me just read you some things about anger and what it does to you, all right? This is from Effects of Anger, what anger does to your body and brain. Emotional stress and anger trigger the release of the stress hormone cortisol in the body. Small releases of cortisol can give the body a quick burst of energy. And this is, if you have to run, if a bear's after you, you can probably run faster than you have in a little bit. However, higher and more prolonged increases can bring into the body a host of negative effects. It can create blood sugar imbalance. It can decrease bone density, suppress the body's immune response, make it susceptible to chronic inflammation. It can suppress thyroid function, slowing down the body's metabolism. It can impair the brain's thinking ability and increase blood pressure. So get as mad as you want, and then go take your blood pressure medicine. Get as mad as you want, and then have sugar. I'm just saying, people that don't know how to control their temper are going to create physical problems for themselves. All right? So, verse 15. Let's look at verse 15. He that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord. Verse number 15, get the sentence right. This destroys a society built on the concept of law and order. A judge or a court that deliberately mishandles a case is part of the decay of a culture. I mean, justice is absolutely required. All right, now by justice, I'm not saying, well, because the guy is of a certain color, let him go. That's not justice. What justice is, if you break the law, then whatever penalty is designed for that breakage, you need to pay. I don't care what color you are. It doesn't matter what income bracket you are in. And so get the sentence right. I've got an article here. I'm not going to read it. But there was a detective that was found guilty of planting drugs on this woman, and she was sentenced, and it came up later that he planted. Now, does this happen every day? Does every cop do that? No. Absolutely not. Is every cop a bad cop? No. No. Is every doctor a quack? Is every attorney a shyster? No. No. Every financial planner, are they a thief? No. Now, are there bad apples in the barrel of every professional discipline? Yes. Yes. There are bad preachers. Yes. That run off with a piano player. I understand that. But you don't shut down the entire system because it has been abused. That's absolutely foolish. And so get the sentence right. Somebody said that a jury is a group of 12 people collected to see who has the best lawyer. And that may be true. Could be true. All right? Look at verse number 16. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he hath no heart to it? Verse number 16. Money can't buy wisdom. Why is what we're talking about. Verse number 16. Wherefore means why. Why is there tuition being paid so a fool can go to school if he doesn't want to go? He has no heart for it. He has no interest in it at all. So money can't buy wisdom. Some people don't have a desire to improve themselves. You ever notice that? They're satisfied where they are. They don't want to know anymore. They don't want to learn anymore. They don't want to improve themselves. What they want is for you to take care of them. But they don't want to take the responsibility of, if I make myself more valuable to my company or to my boss, perhaps I'd get a more responsible position. Maybe I could make a little extra money if I make myself more valuable. Well, how can you make yourself more valuable? Well, it depends on what situation you're in, what job you have. Go to your boss and say, look, I am willing to do anything I can to make you the best boss that you can possibly be. What can I do to help you? All right, let's say, oh my goodness, Robin, let's say you have an employee and they come to you and say, Robin, I want you to know that my purpose for being in your office, I want to make you the absolute best tax preparer that you can possibly. What can I help you do? Are you going to say, whoa, wow, I got a pretty good yeah. Get my car washed and get my lunch. No, you know what I'm saying. Make yourself valuable to the people you work for, and they will take care of you. And so money cannot buy wisdom. Look at verse number 17. Where are we? Yeah, 17. A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Verse number 17, trouble reveals your friends. One guy said, be kind to your friends, because if it wasn't for them, you'd be a complete stranger. Wait until you have a problem, and you'll find out who your friends are. Somebody said, poor Charlie said, when he lost all his money, he lost half his friends. And somebody said, well, what about the other half? He said, well, they don't know he lost it yet. Wait till they find out, and then they're going to run off too. Now, not everybody is assigned to you. Okay? You're not assigned to everybody. See, you don't have enough money to pay everybody's bills in Hardy County. You don't have enough money to do that. That's not your responsibility to do that, as a matter of fact. But there are ways and there are people that the Lord will bring into your life that will bring help. And then there are times when you need to be the help. We're not always just on the receiving end. People get suspicious of somebody that's always in need, all right? You need to, at times, turn yourself out to them. And so trouble reveals your friends. Look, well, let me read you. This was kind of shocking when I read this. This is a historical piece of information here. Quote, I feel so alone sometimes. The night is quiet for me. I'd love to be able to sleep. I'm glad that everyone is gone now. I'll probably not rest. I have no need for all this. Help me, Lord. End quote. That was a note found in a garbage can by a cleaning lady that was in Elvis Presley's room during his final engagement in Las Vegas in 1976. Now, you would think that the king would have friends night and day. But that's what Elvis Presley wrote in 1976. Look at verse number 18. A man void of understanding striketh hands. That means to shake hands, like sealing a deal. And becometh surety in the presence of his friend. Verse number 18, avoid co-signing notes. That's what we're talking about here. To make sure a man's word in his absence is one thing. All right? However, the situation in this verse is different. His friend is so untrusted that even when someone is present with him, the lender's still a little, I don't know. That's pretty sketchy right there. And so often relationships, for instance, family. Oh, that's my uncle, that's my grandson, that's my kid, he'll pay it back. That can often be the weight that sinks the ship. It is the relationship, and the person can take advantage of that. And so avoid co-signing notes. I don't think that's a good practice. And there are some instances and some situations where that might be an appropriate thing to do, but overall, that's not a good thing to do. All right, look at verse number 19. He loveth transgression that loveth strife. And he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. What does that mean? Well, there are a couple of situations being dealt with in this verse. Verse number 19 teaches keep your gate low. All right, now what that means is, in ancient days, when men built a house, they would always build a wall if they had the money. There's wealthy people now. They would build a wall around their house, and they would have a gate or an archway entrance. And if you were arrogant and wealthy, you would build this great, big, ostentatious entry into your house. Somebody on a horse could ride right through that archway, rob you blind, and ride right out the archway because you gave them plenty of room. Now, what about a guy that was a little more modest in his means? He's going to build his gate low. That way, you got to get off your horse. If you're going to rob him, you can't run in there on his horse and run back out. This is the camel in the eye of the needle. This is that same type of a situation. And so I've been around people, and I know you have too, they're mouthy about their money. You ever been around people like that? You get around them, they're going to tell you how much they make. They're going to tell you how much they paid for this and how much they paid for that. They're going to tell you how much acreage they have. They're going to tell you how many this they have. When I first moved down here, I was told, don't ever ask anybody how many cows they have. You don't do that. That's like asking how much money you have in the bank. That's none of my business, how much money you have in the bank. And so be careful about that kind of thing. If somebody wants to tell you, and there's some folks that will, they'll tell you all this kind of stuff, but keep your gate low. All right, look at verse number 20. He that hath a froward heart findeth no good, and he that hath a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. Verse number 20, a bad heart infects tongue. The heart is the hub, folks. It's the centerpiece, it's the fountain, it is the source of everything you know or say. What a person says is prepared in the heart. The heart is the kitchen of the mouth. What a person says, they have prepared in their heart. You know people that cuss regularly? I mean, just drop the F-bomb here, and no compunction. They will just turn the air blue. Where'd all that come from? Oh, I'm sorry, forgive my French. That ain't French. You know, don't excuse bad language with it slipped out. Why did it slip out? Where was it if it slipped out? If a snake slips out of your car, where was the snake? In your car. All right, so, it was accidental. No, it wasn't accidental. That was prepared, because that is not the first time that happened. And so a bad heart infects the tongues. People don't say the wrong thing accidentally. They say the wrong thing very much on purpose. All right, look at verse number 21. He that begetteth a fool doeth it to his sorrow, and the father of a fool hath no joy. Verse number 21, parents of a fool are shamed. When I would go out, when I was 16, 17 years old, be going on a date or going out with some friends, one or both of my parents would always tell me before I left the house, Jimmy, remember who you are. You represent, number one, you represent the Lord when you go out. You represent your church when you go out. You represent your family when you go out. So when you go, and the contacts you have, and the words you say, and the situations that you find yourself in, you better make sure that you shine the absolute best light on the Lord and on your family, on your church. I would hate to know that I was responsible for people not coming to this church. I'd hate to know that. Well, as long as he's pastor there, I'm not going. That'd break my heart. I'd need to know why. What have I done? And so I need to make sure that even though the parent didn't make the decision, the parent's going to pay the price for that decision. Okay? I'll look at verse number 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. Verse number 22. Laugh like nobody's watching. Victor Hugo said, laughter is the sun that drives winter from the human face. And there's a Latin proverb that says, laugh if you're wise. Laugh. Victor Borges said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people. There's something very engaging about a person that smiles and a person that finds humor. Right now, I get sick of watching the news. Now, you just get enervated. And enervated means you just get overwhelmed. You just absolutely, it's like a wave that just covers you completely up. And so I just take a break from it, get away from it. I don't know how many people got killed today. I don't know. You can take so much. And so I would encourage you, find humor. You say, well, how do you do that, preacher? If I were you, I would find literature that is uplifting, something that will make me laugh. The Andy Griffith Show, Lucille Ball, I'm just telling you, laugh, because it's good for your health. The scripture says that laughter does good like what? Medicine. It increases your heart rate. It raises your blood pressure. It does a number of things for you physically, and so laughter is medicinal. Fred Allen said one time, please feel free to laugh. It's bad to suppress laughter because it goes back down and spreads your hips. So, that's the problem. You need to laugh more. You laugh more, and that's the deal. All right, look at verse number 23. A wicked man taketh a gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. And we've already talked about that. Verse number 23, money can bend words. All right, now here's a gift. What is a gift? a bribe. Where's it coming from? He's got it tucked in his coat, all right? It's in his bosom. And so he's bribing somebody to bend judgment, to bend words, to bend outcomes. And so, do you remember what the chief priest did about Jesus? What did they do? They paid. They paid off witnesses. That's illegal, folks. It was illegal then. It's illegal now. And so if you want to discover wickedness in any place, pull out the money. And many people will do just about anything for money. It has a way of flushing the bad out in people. Verse number 24. Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. Verse number 24, blossom where you're planted. All right, let's read it again. Wisdom is before him. What does that mean? Before him. Right in front of him, all right? Wisdom is before him that hath understanding, but the eyes of a fool, where are they? In the ends of the earth. Blossom where you are planted. Right things are right in front of a right man. They're right there. He doesn't have to travel around the world to find what's worthwhile. You know people that just are unhappy where they are. If they're at home, they wish they were at work. If they're at work, they wish they were home. They're always traveling. They're never happy where they are. Oh, my word, I live in Hardy County. Bunch of redneck. Look where I live. We don't even have a Publix. You got to go to Bartow or Sebring. Even go to a Publix. Man, look, I wish I lived. No, you don't. If you live there, good night. The traffic here is ridiculous. Takes you 30 minutes. I wish I lived in some, like Hardy County. You wish you'd come back. And so blossom where you're planted. You remember Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem, El Dorado? There was a guy, this knight, and I'm not going to read it. I've got it here, but I'm not going to take time to read it. He was looking for El Dorado. And he met this ghost that had spent his whole life doing the same thing, looking for El Dorado. And he meets this ghost on the trail. And he says, where is this El Dorado? And this guy says, over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, right? You know what I'm saying? No, what was he saying? There's no El Dorado. Good luck looking for it. So, where's the perfect place to live? Where you are. Where you are. Make good advantage of where you are. All right, look at verse number 25. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bear him. Verse 25, foolish children grieve their parents. Foolish children grieve their parents. I've talked with many mom and dad, some in that office, some other places. Their hearts are broken because their kids have just absolutely thrown their lives away. And at that moment in their kids' lives, there was no turnaround. And thank God for people that probably all of us, everybody in here had a little wild streak in your life? Did something just stupid? Well, thank God, you didn't keep going, right? Amen. Said, this is enough, and I've got to do something different now. And the Lord, just hailed you back into His will, and so I'm grateful. Life is a pretty stern teacher, and so when kids are shameful, they shame their parents, but when they make these right decisions, in honor to the parents. So I'll look at verse number 26. Also to punish or to fine the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. Verse number 26. Justice is the foundation of a stable society. You don't punish people for doing the right thing. You don't punish people economically because they're prosperous. You don't do that. You don't do something wrong to someone that has done the right thing. You don't do that.
This thing, law enforcement officers being punished, it's hard enough. I ran with a target on
Absolutely.
time, but
Absolutely. It is. And so people are painting law enforcement with this broad brush. Every cop is. No, he's not. No, he's not. That's like saying every husband is being unfaithful. No, no, he's not. Every wife is. No, she's not. Every doctor's. No. Anything is not everything. You understand that? And so, are there some bums in every profession? Yes, absolutely. But you don't lump everybody into that same bad group because one has been bad. You know, every now and then government does the right thing. You know, on occasion. Yeah, thank you. Exactly right. And so it is right for the government, in my opinion. This is a personal platform here. It is right for the government to oppose gay marriage, abortion, destruction of property. You know, we have some spots in the country right now where anarchists have taken over government buildings and barricaded themselves in and other people out, and they have even requested food and water and blanket, all this kind of. I'm like, really? But that's where we are right now. And so, all right, look at verse 27, 28. He that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent or cool spirit. I love this. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. Sometimes silence can be mistaken for wisdom. Now, that's not always true. But verses 27 and 28 teach this. Wise men control their words and their ways. People with an outstanding attitude are quite often calm, and they have this unflappable spirit. They don't blow up. Their powder's not always dry. But the unsteady person is the person that's always screaming, always threatening, always arguing. And just be calm. Be calm. The less you say, the more you are accountable for. The less you say, people might mistake me for being a wise person if I don't say anything. But then there are some people that open their mouth and just remove all doubt. You know? So if your brain goes blank, turn the sound off. Okay? Be sure to do that. Because everything you say produces an effect in the world. There are people that don't like to be held accountable for their actions. They want to do anything and say anything they want, and you just better let it lay. Because it's me. And life doesn't work that way. So let's give the Lord our vocabulary. Let's give Him our decisions, and every little confrontation that you have with people, every little contact that you have with people. Lord, when this is over and when I leave, when I get off the phone or when we get in our cars and leave, I want both of us to be better. I want both of us to be encouraged. I want both of us to have a greater appreciation for God's purpose for both of our lives. Let's do that, all right? Thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence. I hope you'll be here Sunday morning right here at 10 o'clock, and we're going to have Sunday school back. Anything I'm overlooking? I don't think so. I've got our, I've got two reservations. Normally, it's just Stacey and I go, and Una Rain goes. She's a state Bible and tract distributor, and it's going to be held up. The reservation's in Brooksville, so we do need to elect two messengers and one alternate to go. And are you going to go this year? For the ladies' meeting, okay. So, all right, so we've got 2 rooms. So I'm going, Stacy's going, Jamie's going, and Lorraine is going. And so we need 2 messengers and 1 alternate. It's up to y'all. Okay, so so she won't be either one. She wouldn't serve as either one. Myself. I just need to conduct myself. All right, we need 2 messengers and 1 alternate, so. Well, we need a. Okay, Jamie, myself as messengers, and Lorraine as an alternate? Okay, all right. Is that a motion? You got a motion? All right, you got a second. Any discussion? Yeah, anybody's welcome to go. I don't know how many are going to be there this year because of all this stuff that's going on. But, all right, well, that's the motion, and we got a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, any opposed, say, yeah, I'll go and do it myself. I don't see any of that. We also need to send some minute money and some expense money for the meeting. And the minutes are like $10 a piece. We usually get 5. Something like that. So we usually send $50 for that. And again, I don't know how many are going to show up this year, but what do y'all want to give for expensive meeting? I don't even remember. A couple $100.
This is the 100th anniversary, so I know they may be some extra expense, so I'm going to recommend $100.
$100. All right. Let's go to 154 minutes. Is that a motion? I can't make a motion. 200? All right, you make a motion. All right, 250.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy. your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. To see you high and lifted up as your shine